All right, so let's take a look at a new backstage series. So in this video, I am going to talk about these three projects. So we have the Plex, the Streak, and the Bubbles. So I think this is going to be a short video because there's not a lot to talk about this project. You know, sometimes you are going to get to a point where the project you are going to have a project that are not really inspiring, but since it's a daily project, you do need to create something that's very important in the creative process. So yeah, for this one, I don't remember why. Maybe I didn't have time to figure out something more dedicated. But yeah, since again we're talking about the first couple of days, the first week inside of Blender, I wanted something a little bit more simpler. So the only complex one is the Plex one. And again, I followed a tutorial from Ducky 3D with the Plexus animations. Of course, he created an animation out of it. But yeah, I just wanted some still frames, and I just love the way that he created that. This is something that I used to make a lot inside of Cinema 4D. And in Cinema 4D, you have the atom array, which pretty much does this. It's just one modifier. And yeah, it was fun to recreate that inside of Blender. So let's open up the first project, which is the Plex one. So you can see that in this project, I actually remembered to add the Ducky 3D video tutorial. And again, I also added some of my personal notes. So I made some minor changes to the setup by adding a cube as the starter mesh, and also some random value nodes in the instance to point to randomize the sphere scale. So that's pretty much what I did also in the previous series, but here I actually remember to add a node frame to actually showcase what's happening. Since I was working in Houdini before getting into Blender, these are the nodes that I'm very familiar with, which is for each loop, so for each element, and how to pretty much loop a procedural setup. So it was very nice to finally get into that. It's a little bit much to get into when you are first starting Blender, to be honest. This is kind of a harder tutorial to follow along, but yeah, this is why I'm providing those files as well. Sometimes you might want something like this, and with these files you can pretty much change some nodes at random and have a different outcome. And yeah, that's pretty much what I like to do sometimes. Sometimes I just go into my library, search something that I want to work on that I already created, and just change some stuff around. Something that I'm seeing right now is that in the 4.5 update, these were kind of added automatically to the curve to mesh. So I did not add these. These were added automatically. I think they don't really do anything, but let's delete them. What I want to do is try to trace back a little bit what's happening here. So as you can see, we have our cube, mesh to volume. We distribute point into that volume. We get the position of each point distributed. We add a noise to kind of randomize the pattern. So as you can see here, we can distort a little bit these location of these points. And after that, we have a for each element. So for each point, right, we get the position. So for yeah, so there's a lot of things happening, right? Let's try and figure out how we can. So I'm gonna take off the end. We have line distributed onto each of those points. So you can actually see the cube outline here, but what we want is to create lines between each element. So that's why we have another for each element. We sample the index and the position value, and we add that inside of the end of our curve line. And now we have, yeah, there's a lot happening, right? So every point is connected with every other point. So there's a lot happening. And from there, we are deleting some of the points. You can actually see that. So now we have deleted a lot of them. And from there, we are turning this curve to mesh. And we merge by distance to be able to also delete some of them. So we don't have overlapping instances on top of each other. And after that, we create mesh to curves with a curve to mesh generator. We have a circle profile and a set material. So from this output, we only have the mesh, the line mesh. Down below, we add instance on point. So we have aquasphere set smooth. So here we have only the points. And then below we have the same thing, but with smaller balls. So when you apply everything together, we have the Plexus, right? So, you know, it's a nice way to kind of figure out on your own. And I love making this type of behind the scene because it also allows me to figure out, you know, what I did. Even following a tutorial, I am able to understand every step of the way. So yeah, this is the first project. Let's take a look at the shader editor for the plane. So there's not a lot of things happening, right? If I press render, we have a white sphere. So I call it glass, but it's not a glass shader. It's a subsurface scattering shader. For some reason, I love the subsurface scattering of Blender and Cycles as well. But yeah, it looks really nice. And for the glass, it's just a simple glass texture. So yeah, that's pretty much it. My lighting setup, I've got one area light and the plane that emits also a light. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And inside of the camera, something that I love to do is the depth of field. So a very easy thing to do, right? You just click on the dropper, select where you want the camera to be focused on and change the f-stop. Something that I have is this grid because I was having a hard time to composite my camera. So as you can see, it wasn't even on the right spot. But to make that, you will have to go inside of your camera in the, let's see where it is, in the viewport display composition guides, and you will be able to add some of those lines. So yeah, thirds, center, diagonals. So this helped a lot when creating a composition. The only bad thing is that you can't actually change how these guidelines look. So yeah, that's a cons for me. But apart from that, yeah, very helpful stuff. All right, so let's open up the second project, which is the streak one. And this is a project that I had to do over and over again because I wasn't satisfied with what I had. And to be honest, I can actually show you my first attempt that I had for the second day. So I have a folder here with some of the project that didn't make it that didn't make the cut, and I have here the atom. So yeah, this was supposed to be the daily render for that day, but I ended up redoing it and doing this type of there are these type of days where yeah, I'm just not feeling it, but I had to do something, and I tried to do, you know, something else a couple of times, but in the end, yeah, that's just what I was able to create, and it's okay, you know, sometimes it is what it is, right? So let's see what I did differently in this one. So geometry node, as you can see, we have the same setup. So UV sphere, this time apart from a cube, distribute point on face. So something that I did was to add a plane, a grid inside of the same geometry node. So I'm just going to take this up. I'm just going to take the grid off, right? So this is the nice thing about geometry node, is that you can add as much geometry as you want, and you can set different texture for pretty much everything. So let's take everything step by step. So we have what we had in the first video. We have our instance on point. So we have our spheres on each and every point. We put that, we fit that inside of the scale instance. And what I wanted to have was this kind of spheres that go smaller and smaller as you know you get out of the center of the sphere, and this create this kind of molecule like enzyme, you know, type of thing. And from that I created a icosphere. So let's take a look at this sphere, right? It's a simple sphere, set smooth, which doesn't really matter, you know, we don't really need that. Set material doesn't really matter because we don't add any material to this. So we have our geometry proximity and a map range, which is fed inside of the scale instances for our smaller balls. And from here we can actually control how the ball will scale up based on the geometry proximity of our sphere, right? So hopefully this makes sense. You know, it's a very nice setup if you want to kind of have a growing particle system like that, right? Everything is procedural. So something you can do, yeah, it's change the from max and minimum to get different outputs. And something you could also do, let's try this out, right? Let's take a noise texture, because I don't know if this will work. I will add the color to the geometry, the factor to geometry, points, edge, face. No, it doesn't work. So it needs actual geometry. Let's take a set position, add our geometry into it. And for the offset, we are going to add the offset. Going to put this back into here, and let's see, does this way? Yeah, this works. So now we can control how the sphere looks like with a noise displacement, and you can also have really nice control. So I'm going to press shift, and now we have a more, you know, vibrant molecule. You can multiply this. No, actually I'm going to use the scale node. And you can have this moving around, growing. I mean, this is nice, right? And from there you can also change that, and of course change the radius of the sphere. Ooh, nice. And yeah, you can have a lot of different outcomes. Let's try another multifractal. I mean, this is nice, right? Oh yeah. I mean, this could be a render on its own. Let's see how it looks like. And am I in my camera? No, so yeah, I'm in my camera. Okay. So of course I don't have any texture on this, but you get the point. So yeah, this is pretty much. So yeah, this is pretty much how I was able to make the streak. So you know, even though a lot of time, even though the render doesn't look like anything much, behind the scene there's a lot of stuff happening inside of the node system. So as I showed you here, this might be helpful for something else in the future. And yeah, so of course I know the setup that I made in this, but now it's nice to also be able to share, you know, those little secrets. So yeah, let's close this up and take a look at the third render. And the third render is the bubbles. So the bubbles, I think for this one I went very straightforward. I do have the same setup here. Is this UV sphere? Yeah, we are doing the same thing, and yeah, exactly the same thing. The only difference, let's see, I think I did something different. I changed the method used to determine radius and placement from point to direction. So that's why I had a lot less lines. So, you know, you can actually change the length of each line without having to actually define a strict end distance for the lines. You can actually, you know, set this on your own. So that's what happens. All right, so now it makes sense. Now I get it. So yeah, we still have to state the direction that the points are going to face. So we have a first point or second point, but this time we are kind of making manually the length between those two points. So yeah, this is why we have the curve line set to direction. So yeah, interesting little behind the scene. I mean, you can get stuff like this, right? Let's try to change a little bit the length. Okay. So this could be useful for an expanding universe type of thing. So yeah, I didn't knew what that meant. So now that I'm getting back at it, I'm finally understanding what's happening here with the point and direction. It makes sense. Yeah. All right, so let's close this off. And yeah, that's it for this little series. So again, you know, might seem a very simple setup, but in the back end, there's a lot of things happening. And there's some systems that are not used properly to showcase what have been done in the geometry node system. But yeah, it's fun to take a look back at it. All right, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.